If you think you need to crack the algorithm to grow your business, then this video is about to save you a ton of time. Hi, welcome back. My name is Yasmin Vorajee. I'm the creator and author of Tiny Time Big Results, where I help consultants, coaches, creative service business owners run a thriving business in part-time hours. And I know that you are exhausted of working for the algorithm. You feel like you're serving the algorithm. Maybe you even feel like I'm a bit of a servant to the algorithm. You feel like every single thing that you do has to appease the algorithm gods, right? And if you don't, you're not going to get the visibility that you want. You're not going to get the opportunities. You're not going to get the clients. You're not going to get the sales. And truthfully, we've all fallen for that. I know I definitely have. So I'm not speaking for everybody, but I know that from speaking with lots and lots of different people over the years, and it's almost like there's this sense of everything is driven towards social media. People say to me, I need to be consistent. And what they mean is I need to be consistent on social media. So they may be going out networking, they may be going to events and things, but when they say I need to be more consistent, they're typically talking about social media. So in this video, I want to give you a permission slip to not worry about the algorithm anymore, because here's the thing, right? Algorithm chasing is exhausting. It is fruitless. And why would you do that? When you started your business, you started it so that you could be free of all the restrictions. I'm a true Aquarian. I love not conforming. I love not fitting in, and I want to build something that's mine. And then what happens? Social media, and granted, it's a fantastic tool, but as a lot of people talk about nowadays, it's a very different beast than what it was like a decade ago, right? And now it's not so great. Now you do feel like you're having to feed the monster all the time. No wonder you're feeling burnt out. No wonder you're feeling like your business is not sustainable, because what's happened is we've fallen for the trick or the myth that social media marketing is the path to business success, is the path to business growth. And hold on a minute, right? Because social media is not that old, right? Before social media, business grew. We were able to grow businesses. We were able to talk to people, tell people what we did. And we didn't need social media to do that. So to fall, and I have done this as well, but to fall into that thinking rut that if you're not on social media, that your business is going to wither up and die, it just doesn't serve you, because it makes you exhausted. Then you feel like, oh, I just better post. And then you post. And then you go, oh, nobody liked my post. Nobody commented, nobody liked it. And, I get no engagement and nobody's asking me any questions. And it just becomes this vicious loop, because you think, okay, well, they didn't comment, they didn't like, so I'll post more. And then you're thinking, I've just posted like 5 times in one day. My kids are shouting for me. We have to go and do different things. We've got activities to do. Or I'm looking at my phone all the time. I'm not being a present parent. And you are just fed up. Well, this video is all about how you do not need to chase the algorithm. Instead, what I want you to do is to build authority, because this is actually the permission slip, right? Because there's 3 kind of really strong reasons why I'm inviting you to look at your business in a different way. I'm inviting you to look at how you market your business in a different way, so that you can actually regain sanity. You can regain your time. You can regain that sense of freedom that you started the business for in the first place, right? Because algorithm chasing is not it, right? Compounding authority is the key. So let's get straight into it, right? And if you are interested in learning more about how to do this in your business, then click below. Rich by Design is my flagship program that I teach you how to actually sell your offers using your authority, and not chasing algorithms. So be sure to check that out. That's just below this video here. Okay. So, and if you're listening to this on the podcast, it will just be in the description as well. So here we go. Let's get straight into these 3 big reasons as to why you can stop chasing the algorithm and start building authority instead. So first of all, algorithms change. You know this, I know this, and it's deeply frustrating because you feel like you've nailed it. You feel like you've cracked the code, and then it changes, right? Oh, who has got the time and the energy for that? I've got 3 kids, right? I've got one teenager, one nearly a teenager, and a 9-year-old, right? And I've got a million other things to be doing than to faff around with the algorithm, right? I don't want to be serving the algorithm. So here's what I've found over the last 14 years of being in business and building my own authority assets. So I have a podcast, I have my book, which is a best-selling and award-winning book, which continues to bring me clients and royalties and all sorts of other goodies, right? Speaking opportunities, for example. Right, so I've been building authority assets over the years, and this is why I get so passionate about it, because this is actually a far more powerful way of building your business, attracting those clients and getting those sales, right? So algorithms change. The authority compounds, right? My son came home earlier in the year from when he was doing his maths, and he was like, have you heard about compounding interest? And I was like, yeah. And he was so excited about it. He was so excited about this concept of like it just building and building and building. And that's exactly what I want you to think about when it comes to your authority. It comes to the content that you're creating. It comes to all the things that you're building in your business. Because let's face it, if you're doing an Instagram story, 24 hours, poof, off it's gone into the ether, right? You post on Facebook, if anybody posts on Facebook, you post it on Threads or wherever it might be, and it disappears. Whereas if you have got assets that are building like that compounding interest for you, that people can go back to them. So for example, I have a YouTube channel, I have my podcast, and here's the thing I want you to know, right? I haven't got massive numbers, but people are watching, people are paying attention, right? So we're just going to put the number thing to one side, right? And just think about, if somebody landed on your website and, they wanted to binge consume your content because they really liked you, have you got enough there? Because reading post after post after post can get a little bit weary. But if you've got a really good blog, if you've got really great podcasts, I'll give you an example actually. I have not been consistent with my with my podcast. I kind of like stop and start because of life, right? But I checked my stats, and I check my stats regularly, and I checked my stats the other day, and there was one day where I had like over 150 downloads, and that's massive for me. I was like, oh my God, who was listening? Like, was that one person just listening to all these episodes? And I was like, that's amazing. Some of those podcast episodes I did years ago, and they are still compounding. So can you see where I'm going with this? This is where you actually build trust. And that's a really important point, which I was going to go on to reason number 2, right? Because the thing is, you don't need more eyes, right? What you need is the right eyes to believe what you're saying. So when you're thinking about the algorithm in social media, it tends to reward new eyes, right? So more people are looking at your stuff, right? Which is great. However, what I feel like is in this day and age, we've got so much AI crap out there, right? So much AI slop and people who we think are real, but they're not real at all. And so we have a real trust deficiency, right? There's a real trust recession. I think that's the phrase. And so when someone reads your book, listens to your podcast, watches your videos, reads your blogs, all of those things that are like really building your authority, people are kind of going, oh, she's real, first of all. She knows what she's talking about. And she has been consistent. Could look at all this content that she's created, but you're not chasing the algorithm, right? And that trust piece is massive, especially if you've got high ticket items that you're selling. People need to know that they can trust you. I have heard so many horror stories where people who are brilliant on social media, really good at that, not so good on the actual delivery. You don't want to be that person. You want to be that person that is so good your client experience, the delivery of your service, that people are just like, oh my God, that was amazing, right? And that's what you want, is you want to build that trust, because the trust is going to be the thing that makes them say, oh, did you check out such and so? You know, have you worked with Yasmin? Like, I had a great experience with her. Right? And that's what you want. We need more trust. We need more trust than ever before, right? So we want the right people to look at what you're putting out there. And if you've got that content there, like, actually, I could give you an example. I was working with a client a couple of years ago, and we had this conversation, and we were talking about where she was getting her clients, and she was like, YouTube. And she had like 3,000 subscribers on her channel, which is fantastic. And she said, some of these videos I did 7-8 years ago, and they still bring me clients. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, I just like, amplify that. Do not try and think of like adding all these other layers in and trying to be everywhere. Amplify what is working right now, right? So that's another great example for you, to inspire you to not chase algorithms, but build authority, right? And then thirdly, right, and this is really important. This is where my rebellion, my rebellious side likes to come out, right? Because algorithms serve the platform, right? Authority benefits your business, right? So, the head of Instagram comes out and he says, oh, we're doing this for you. And everyone's like, oh my God, will you just stop messing around with the platform, right? Do what we need you to do. Do what we would like you to do in a way that works for us, especially small businesses, right? And then they're like changing all these different things. It serves them. And so what happens, it feels like very much like a slot machine, where you keep posting and you keep putting your coins in, and then they reward you. And is that what you really want? No, it's not. So the algorithm serves the platform, but it doesn't serve your business. Whereas when you build authority assets, when you build your authority in all the different ways that I've been sharing, right? One of my clients, she got a guest podcast episode. So she was guesting on someone else's podcast. That one interview led her to her first 10K month. Now, I'm not saying to you like every single podcast that you're going to do is going to give you 10K, right? But she got in front of so many people. I think this guy had like 160,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel, which is where the podcast was actually aired. She got hundreds of people joining her email list. She had about 10 consultations booked in, literally the day after it went live. And her program was like 3K. And she was like, and she still had more booked in. She was still getting new leads. Like, this is what's possible, rather than trying to feed the platform and play its game, right? You don't want to be doing any of that stuff, right? So what I want you to know is the algorithm really, it's not about you, right? It's about itself. It's about the platform. It's not trying to serve you. It's not trying to help you. You may think it was, and maybe back in the day it did, but it doesn't anymore. And so instead of trying to play that exhausting game, what I want to invite you to do is actually think about how you build your authority, right? And this requires skill building. And I don't want you to be afraid of that, because when you talk about your work in a way that is so powerful and your expertise is communicated in that powerful way, whether that's through written work, whether it's through talking, speaking on stages, whether they're live, whether they're virtual, whether you're writing your book, whether you're launching a podcast or getting on podcasts, all of these authority assets are actually going to build your business in a far more sustainable way. It's going to have longevity. And that's what I'm interested in. I'm not interested in creating content that's going to disappear in a few hours. I want my business to grow in the years to come from the content, from the assets that I have built. Like my book, I wrote that 8 years ago, and it is still continuing to work for me. So if you want to know more about how you can do that in your business and build your authority assets and really sell your programs, your packages, your services by selling with your authority and not chasing algorithms, then click the link below and check out Rich by Design. This is my flagship program, and this is where I teach you how to do these things so that you can finally be free of the monster, right? And you can actually have that thriving business in part-time hours, because social media demands so much of your time. When you're thinking, I've got to comment on all these people's posts and all of this stuff that you think that you have to do, you don't have to. Right? So this is why I want you to build your authority instead of chasing the algorithms. And if you want to know more about how I can help you to do that, click the link below for Rich by Design, and make sure you hit like and subscribe as well. And I will see you next time. Take care.